I'm sitting down with Mr. Teриолli버, the CTIO of Bonneville Power Administration over in the States. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, I heard that this is your first time at BIXPO.
Yes.
And how was it? Just
impressive.
impressive?
Impressive. I was able to walk through the exhibits here, which are very commercial. That's a great thing. We need lots of commercial exhibits. But I went across the way to the innovation group.
Invention fair.
Oh, the energy level with all the people in that room was just incredible. Awesome, awesome.
How long did you spend at the invention fair?
I looked at every booth.
Okay, so you'd be in a good position to comment on which one stood out for you.
Well, the one that stood out for me was probably not the most technically impressive.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand,
okay.
because I had lived in Thailand for 8.5 years, and I'd worked with IGAT, Sawadee Krap, and they loved it.
So you had some favoritism
Yeah,
for the country that you spent a lot of time in?
Yes.
And what was their technology? What was the invention?
They had actually a pretty interesting technology that allowed them to do some repairs on a major transformer, like fix a leak at a bushing without having to take all the oil out of the transformer, because with the innovation that they had, they could actually tell that they had drawn the oil down sufficiently to be able to do the work.
Right. Well, tomorrow they have the award ceremony for the invention fair.
Yes.
So we'll see if
we'll see. Maybe they win.
Yeah, maybe. Now, this is the second day of BIXPO, and this morning we had the CTO forum, which I believe you attended.
I got to attend. I got to even say my 2 cents worth.
Oh, you were one of the panelists.
I was.
And could you share a little bit of what you talked about?
Well, we all work for engineering organizations, and the ability to have failures in an engineering organization is just not very great. And yet, to get to what we need to be able to do in terms of dealing with climate change and dealing with the innovation, we have to have an allowance for failure.
Right.
So my suggestion was that we really need to add a new skill, a discipline to what utilities do, and that new skill is I call research management. And research management allows us to manage failure in a way that advances technology, and to the extent we can do that, then we can actually help solve climate change.
Right, because I guess if you don't allow for failures, then people won't be making new challenges, and that will hinder with new developments.
Yeah, Dr. Hoffman made a point in the earlier session, that we just weren't moving fast enough on integrating new technologies, and he's right. And yet you can't do it with serial innovation. You actually have to have things that leap way ahead, and you can't do that without failure.
Without failure, yeah. That's right. Now, one of the hot topics, not just in Korea but globally, is the issue of coming up with ways to better deal with climate change and ways to minimize greenhouse gases, especially after the Paris Agreement last year. So KEPCO, as well as the rest of Korea, is very much dedicated to coming up with new energy industries such as ESS. What's your take on Korea's approach, Korea's response to climate change? So
I think all of the technologies are what everybody is thinking about. So, of course, those are the right technologies. I really liked the discussion of a particular island experiment demonstration that was being conducted in Korea, because it confines what you're trying to understand to a scale that you can actually learn something from.
Right.
And I pointed out that there was a potential solution to some of the cost and tariff and benefit issues in a concept we call transactive energy.
Transactive energy.
In Europe, it's called power matcher.
Power matcher.
And I mentioned that Bornholm Island was something that Korea could look at, and the KEPCO representative instantly came over and said they came to visit.
Oh.
So I didn't have to help make a connection. The connection was already made, and I think that really helps.
It really helps. And I guess that's one of the benefits of BIXPO, is that it combines elements from sort of 3 different elements that would normally call for 3 different events. You have the conference, you have the forum, and you have the invention fair.
Right.
Now, in your position as the CTIO of Bonneville, and also in your previous role working for an NGO in Thailand. I would imagine that you've gotten to travel a lot globally and visit a lot of similar sort of expositions. What do you think sets BIXPO apart from the rest?
The polish and
Polish.
and breadth. As you noted, frequently these are sort of narrowly defined conferences. There's something about smart grid, and then another thing about smart cities, and another thing about particular equipment technologies. And yet, in order to deal with climate change, we actually need to figure out how those things all fit together.
Right.
So that was really, I think, a good step for BIXPO.
BIXPO. And in terms of, as the climate change, what sort of role is Bonneville playing?
Oh, so Bonneville has a long history of doing energy efficiency better than just about anybody on the planet.
Okay.
So we've actually kept our load growth to about 1% per year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
And that's all through investing in customers' premises and helping them make their houses and businesses and industries energy efficient. And it's paid huge benefits to BPA in doing that. The other thing is we're trying to figure out how to safely integrate wind and how to more efficiently run our transmission system. And we're using a new technology called phasor measurement units.
Phasor measurement units.
So a typical SCADA or SCADA system, a system control and data acquisition system, collects information about an electric grid about every 4 seconds. The synchrophasors, the phasor measurement units, collect better information, geographically identified, 60 times a second.
Wow, that's a huge jump in frequency.
It is a huge jump, and consequently, we can actually see events and then see the impact of those events and say, oh, we have to fix something over here.
Right.
And that just is such a huge game changer that we are now discovering even more application of the technology in order to make the grid more reliable.
Right.
It's a big breakthrough.
And have you been able to talk with Korean companies or institutions about that technology?
Not yet.
Not yet, but we have one more day to go.
Yes, that's exactly right. We have a nice show tomorrow.
Yes. Now, what other suggestions do you have for BIXPO 2017 and also the CTO Forum next year to make it better, to improve from here on?
You know, I think there really is something to smart cities that would be very useful to add. As the electric industry is thinking about reliability and affordability and environmental impact and electrification as a solution to other carbon impacts, there's a connection to how cities think about transportation and water and air quality. They both require sensors, big data, different analytics, different ways of thinking about how cities and the infrastructure that supports them, electric, water, roads, rail, all work together. Right. And I think that's a big opportunity to actually marry some of the similar concepts and techniques to solve multiple problems.
Right. Well, we have one more day left, and as we just said, hopefully there'll be more connections forged tomorrow for your company. And all the best for the rest of your stay in Korea.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you.